Okay, so I've added some additional options. First, I'm going to show you that if we go inside the buttons, and I'll go to the middle layer in here, you can see that they've all got names associated with them. And I wrote them out so that they match up their position in the array. Uh, Other than that, you actually don't see the button name. So let me do a command return, and we'll go take a look at the code. And notice that all of these got renamed. There's an array within the main timeline that's defining the code. These only have simple stops. So there's a simple stop there, and there's another simple stop over here as well. In the main timeline, that's where everything is going on. So in here's my code. I'll go to the actions layer, and it's simpler in terms of the amount of code, but it's a little bit more sophisticated in relationship to what's going on. This is the array of the list of what I'm working with, and as we looked at the example in here, we can now navigate within these choices in here. If I get rid of this, I'm just going to delete it, and I'll do a return, command return, and take a look at this. The yellow is gone. So in here, if I get rid of the blue and run it, then the blue is gone. So this is set up so that if for some reason you need a menu with a lot of choices and another menu with less choices, you can set that up. And this is how you would do that. So I'm going to copy this array, and I'm going to paste it right underneath here, and I'm going to call this labels 2. And I'll go ahead and call this pets, and this will be cat, dog, and fish, and no yellow. So the largest number I have is 5 items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The smallest one I'm going to have is 4 items. So I have to make sure that I'm set up for the largest options that I have available. And because this list is only made up of 4 items, it'll essentially eliminate the extra layer that already is part of the larger movie clip. Okay, so now I need to create the commands for the movie clip, and that's what this does. This function in here defines the action script for the movie clips, and here's the function right underneath here. So this name in here goes with the first one. This one over here is going to be over here, 2, and this is also going to be a 2. So that's where the that's going to be the name of the new movie clip that I'm about to create. So I think I've got everything set up over here. I've got my limited number of options, and I'll go ahead and hold this and make a copy of it. And over here, I'll just go ahead and make that into a 2. And now when I run this, you'll see that I've got a pet section where I've got cat, dog, and fish. And over here, I've got red, green, blue, and yellow. So depending on how big your list is, this will essentially self-populate. And so again, in the code, if I come back over here into the code, and let's say I didn't want to include the fish as part of my list, all I have to do is eliminate that. And so that's the way it's set up to work. So no more fish. And of course, the only thing you have to make sure you do to make this work correctly is you do have to include on the main timeline the additional layers that are going to be your other cat and dog in this particular case. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the shift key down, hold the option key down, and drag that over. In this text over here, I'll go ahead and make that cat, and I'll just make it black text. And over here is going to be dog, and I'll make that black text as well. And I need to add 2 more keyframes over here, so I'm just going to do a F5 until it gets to the very end. And I need 2 copies of this, so I'll just hold the Option key down and copy it over 2 times. This label in here is going to become cat, and this label over here is going to become dog. And now I've got I keep on clicking on the layer while I've got the lock layer, so I'm going to say no to that. Just trying to click away here. Okay, so dog, I'm in the right layer. Let's give it a shot and let's see if it's hooked up correctly. So pets, cat, dog, yellow, red. So I've got these 2 options to navigate. And you may want to have this as maybe you get into a larger category. This navigates you to different categories, and maybe this one's used specifically for the artwork that you're navigating around. But that's the setup, and now let me show you what's going on in here for those of you who are curious. I've got a function in here that's using the array information, and it's generating the code. This in here is non-changing, and if for some reason I find I need another list of maybe 5 options, so I'll come back over here. It's actually 6 options because there is a 0 option. You would rename this 5 like that, and so now I need to bring that into my real timeline. And so now if I come back over here into the movie clip, I need to add another one over here. This is the easiest way to set it up so you don't have to do a lot of work. I'm going to go ahead and do a duplicate layer. Whoops, wrong one. I'm going to do a duplicate layer. And here I'm going to leave that as my number 4 copy. And I'm going to call this one my number 5 copy. Okay, so now right now number 4 and number 5 are on top of each other. So I'll go ahead and lock everything except for the most bottom one. And down in here I'll just click and drag it down. I'll unlock the top one so it snaps to its position. Whoops, let me select only the bottom one. And so it's going to snap into its position. Now I already happen to have an orange one over here that I created just for this demo, but if you want to, you would just go ahead and do a duplicate and then change the color and the button type that's inside that button. Anyway, for now, what I want to do is a swap, and I'll swap that with the orange one. And so now I need to call this, so this is going to be called 5. And I need to now program this, so if I turn all of these off, come back over to the main timeline, you can see that here it switched back to 4. So I'm going to grab this, copy that over there, make sure I've got it on the end as well. And now when I come over here to the first frame in here, I just need to make sure that that tucks away with everything else. And got to go to the last frame and make sure that that tucks away with everything else. So now back on the timeline, my colors in here, I'm actually going to get rid of the cat one. I'll get rid of the dog. And I'll co-op, do a Command Shift, rather a Shift F5, get rid of that frame. And I'm going to co-op here the cat and make that orange. And call that out orange. And I might as well make it orange. So I've got an orange color, an orange label, and I don't need this guy. Whoops, I keep on selecting the layer. So click on this. Okay, delete that. So I'm not going to be using the cat reference, so now I need to go back over to my code. And I'll get rid of this. Now right now, orange isn't part of this title. I'm not working with a second movie clip, so I'll delete this. So everything should work for the yellow, no orange yet. So if I check this out, whoops, if I check this out, I got an error in here somewhere. 2 commas. Okay, so no orange is showing up. And I got to put my orange in here, so comma, quotes, orange. And now we'll see our orange in the main timeline. And it'll go to the orange spot. So it works pretty good. Of course, remember, you don't have to color these things the way I did. They don't even have to be rectangles. They can be squares, and we already saw that in another movie. I hope this helps, and it's kind of fun to sort the code out what's going on in here. The This section in here is just a subtraction between the length of this array compared to the length of this array. And if this array is shorter, it eliminates the layers. That's what's going on over here. This one over here is a for loop. This line in here takes the labels, which is the variable of this labels. So this labels and this labels are both arrays, but it's getting its reference from the original array, this one. So this is labels 1, and it's looking at the content of labels 1, and it's assigning it to the text box, and this is the instance name of the text box that we're working with, and essentially it's assigning the text box the name of the label. Over here is where we have the actual event for the button click. So when we click on the button, it's going to play. That means it's going to move right along the timeline of the movie clip. And when it gets to the center, it's going to find the stop that's in the middle. Then it's going to run this function in here, and this is where I set out the Boolean option where it's looking to see whether it's true or not. And I just thought it was a little easier to set it up this way. So in here it's looking at the current reference of the frame that we're on, and this is getting the number of the frame that we want to reference that's inside the text. And if this condition is true here, if the B is true, it'll go ahead and reposition the main timeline to the new frame label. Otherwise it's false, and it'll just do a play. So it basically works the same way. The difference is in here is that all the various buttons are getting programmed all at once, so I don't have to keep on programming them individually every time I add a button. All I have to do is just add the name over here, add the name in the inside the movie clip itself, and the whole thing essentially just kind of self programs itself once you've got everything organized in the right way. Okay, so hopefully this makes some sense to you. If not, I'll be more than happy to explain how you can modify your interface in class, and we'll be working in class with this particular example, so hopefully I'll have enough time to talk to everyone who needs a hand.